Hey, I'm Lisa Singer, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Daphne Leroy, and she is a board member of the Fiverr Children's Foundation. Hey, Daphne, welcome.
Hey Lisa, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to do this. And I think, like as I said, I always either people refer people, recommendations, or I find them on my own. And you came highly recommended by a woman that I've worked with a number of times. So I was very excited to not only get to look at your profile and say, okay, yeah, I want to interview Daphne. And then now that we get to know each other. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, so as I mentioned, you are on the serving the board of directors of the Fiverr Children's Foundation, and I know it's one of their sayings, slogans is really providing positive experiences that lead to positive life choices for children. So, what I want to ask you, because again, I always like to turn it on the person, can you share a positive life experience from when you were younger that led you to a positive life choice and talk about that?
I love that question. You're taking me back, Lisa. So when I think about that,
Way back.
way back, um, I will share when I was a teenager in high school, I had the opportunity to participate in a summer job program in an office of communications. I was this shy, curly-haired girl, born and raised in Queens. So going into the city near Wall Street every day was surreal. It was not a glamorous job. It was typing and filing and running errands and fact checking for a print publication. But what it did is it showed me how media and communications could really shape how people see themselves and the world. And that uh, inspired my choice to study marketing management in college and pursue a career in media and ultimately setting the foundation for decades later. And going back to Fiverr, what I think is so full circle is that that summer job program later I realized inspired me to want to make that commitment to mentorship and youth development. And one of the ways is through serving on the board of the Fiverr Children's Foundation, which makes this 10-year commitment to youth in New York, ages 8 to 18. And it's about immersive summer and year-round programming, building character, education, leadership. And I think that's an example, Lisa, that we can all live our legacy right now. What are the choices we can make, continue to make, that will impact the legacy that we leave behind, so that we have other people that may not have the exposure or access, like that shy, curly-haired girl from Queens, can become that next generation. Because I truly believe if you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah. No, and I love that I mean, in the sense, paying it forward, but it's from your own experiences as a youth, but then you come today to be a part of that, to be that mentor or to facilitate a younger student, a younger person who may not have those opportunities and to help provide that. When you see the impact from some of the people you may have been working with, some of the students or the younger children that you are, I don't know, teenage, is that the level that you it usually is?
Yeah,
Fiverr?
ages 8 to 18. So once we
That's a
give them
very young.
exposure to careers, they're in high school.
Yeah. So what do you see from them? I mean, one, do you see a lot of yourself? But two, how do you see maybe them blossom or just become more than what they might have thought they could be?
Yes. So what I've experienced is that it's about giving exposure and access in a way that these fivers, we affectionately call them, would not have on their own.
Hmm.
Look, I'm a first generation American. My mother is a retired registered nurse. My dad is a retired social worker. They are my greatest inspiration. And as any son or daughter of immigrants will tell you, the preferred careers are doctor, lawyer, or engineer. So, who knew that there's a career in media, in
Yeah.
advertising, in marketing? those were not fields that I was exposed to, especially being the firstborn in my family.
Mhm.
So when I can bring a fiver into my world of work and expose them to a career opportunity that they didn't even know existed,
Yep.
it's those moments that truly matter because you're seeing in their eyes that the future is much more limitless than it may have been before they joined the program.
Yeah, no, it's just about knowing what's out in the big world, because there are
Right?
so many jobs out there. I mean, even I learn about different jobs today, and I've been around, so it's just I think that is such a great way to, especially at a young age. I don't think it's not about planning your future when you're 8 or 9, but it's letting them know that they have other choices to make and what other opportunities are out there. So, and
Absolutely.
I want to go back. So when you basically you knew right away you wanted something in communications, media, and that shows when I do my snooping and look at your profile in terms of where you've worked. You've predominantly been at some of the largest media outlets, from MTV and Fox and Time, Viacom, Paramount. So you really, even though you're doing communications and marketing, you're on the media side, which can be different, I would think, than being on the brand or agency side. But I don't want to get into the difference yet. We can do that next. Initially, I just want to know what made you focus on that side of things, on the media side of things. And like when you were graduating college, were you like, oh, I like MTV, I want to do this, or this is what, talk about that in your path.
Sure. Well, college was a great experience, whether it was through internships or being involved in student organizations. And I realized the power of marketing and media on a campaign, making an impact, leading student government. And I wanted to carry that out. Not to mention, I was a big fan of storytelling and TV programming. So when I graduated college, having majored in marketing management, I didn't have a perfectly linear path mapped out, but I had a passion for marketing and media and storytelling. And that ambition and curiosity is really what is the foundation of that growth mindset that I think is so important for people starting out today. And I've really worked across the full marketing and communications ecosystem. I've led teams in affiliate marketing, in integrated ad sales marketing, in cause marketing, in the social impact space, in marcoms, both in the consumer and B2B audience
Mhm.
sector. So it's been an intentional, expansive journey, Lisa, not a straight line by any means. And each experience has really given me the skills, the different perspectives that shape my leadership style. And talking about college, a highlight for me and a full circle moment for me is that today I give back to my alma mater, Baruch College's Zicklin School of Business. I serve on their marketing advisory board.
Mhm.
And I partner with faculty, I partner with industry leaders to help shape curriculum, mentor students, those future people that will be joining our industry, and really helping them and that early career talent, which really is the future of marketing and media.
Yeah, well, and so talking about that, you're, mentoring these students who are, back as I initially asked the question when you were first graduating and what you were envisioning for yourself. So how are you advising them? Like someone who wants to be you or wants to get into a level of marketing that you're achieved, but also on the media side, again, I feel like they maybe that's or different in the sense, not media by media buying. I know I'm talking about more in terms of like the MTVs out there, the CBS, the broadcast, whatever it may be. Is there a different route or is there a different set of rules that people should use or go or try to follow in order to get to that kind of position?
Right. I don't think there are different rules per se for media and entertainment. However, it is a very much relationship driven industry. So having exposure and access to people within the industry is a huge help.
Hmm.
So if I were to send a letter to my younger self, I would tell her to join a trade association, even while I was in college, like the American Marketing Association or um, the WICT or NAMIC or She Runs It, because then you begin to expose yourself to people that are in the roles that you aspire to
Yeah.
become. And I think that's really it. There's no lack of talent or ambition within the generation that aspires to enter the larger media and entertainment. I think it really is a matter of connecting them with the influencers, the people that can open the door and ensure that they can get in the room.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I mean, having been in that side of things as well on the, the reporting and producing side, but still it's getting that first foot in the door. You have to be really persistent. And even
Right,
now it's a little different. I mean, there's different means with so much social media, which, we didn't really have to get, like it was more, I mean, I would drive to place, like I would move to LA and I'd be like driving to a production house and being like, hey, here, this is my resume, here's my tape. So I think it's different, but it's still the same. Once you find that, at least I know once I got in there a little bit, I'm not saying it's a smooth ride and you have to prove yourself, but it does help things move forward. And so you feel that it's maybe more so on the side of the entertainment world and in doing marketing as opposed to perhaps brand marketing or for an agency. I mean, I think all of it needs connections in some ways because
yes,
of the industry, and that's what it's all about, connections. But
right.
I think it's just a little bit different in terms of the mindset.
Exactly. And it's a small industry in many ways. So relationships that you form when you're first starting out in your career will serve you well for decades to come because those are the people that will be your peers in terms of being leaders of the industry. So relationships very much do matter. And I think that exposure and access and redefining how we create pipelines and prospect talent is really important now more than ever.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Is there someone maybe back when you were first starting out that was kind of that pipeline for you that maybe you looked at as a mentor and or a leader that you wanted to be like or get advice from?
Right. So I think I'm thinking back to when I was a first-time manager and I had an industry mentor who showed me the incredible power of sponsorship. It was a concept I wasn't familiar with at the time because he went beyond just giving me advice. He walked the talk,
Mhm.
and he actively invited me into rooms and events and opportunities I would have never accessed on my own. And that experience stayed with me. And if I'm in a position where I can advocate for someone, whether it's someone on my team, whether it's a mentee, it's a really powerful act that any of us can do, creating space for others and creating those opportunities to nurture growth, just as my mentor did for me so long ago.
Yeah, no, and as again, I said it earlier, I think it's wonderful that because you knew how it helped you, you want to do the same for those today. And I think that would be nice if everyone sort of felt that way. I don't think you always see it. And especially, you know, I feel I can say it, being in the entertainment industry, you don't always see that. You can find it somewhere, and I've definitely experienced it from certain people, but I've also seen the opposite from others. And so I think you just have to figure out who you can be your allies.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Couldn't
no.
agree more.
Okay, so I want to get to again with my snooping. I saw on LinkedIn that you wrote that you rely on three core leadership principles. So speaking of leadership, and one of them is embrace resilience. So I want to ask you, was there a time in your life where you faced a challenge where you knew once you were able to get through it or get past it or whatever happened, that it showed you, it proved to you how resilient you actually were.
Right. Resilience, stamina, overcoming adversity, all the things, right, Lisa? We've all been in those situations. Well, I think a universal challenge we all had to overcome is the COVID-19 pandemic. And just
Mhm.
in terms of what my experience was with it, my husband and I had moved just 2 months before lockdown. We were caring for elder parents from afar, and we were managing very demanding careers. It was a truly intense period of isolation. And for
Mhm.
me, being that I worked in a creative industry, I needed a creative outlet. And one of the ways that I was able to get through that intense period was launching a passion project. And I launched a project called Descendants of Hope in 2020 because at the root of Descendants of Hope was fostering a sense of community. And during the pandemic, that isolation was pretty overwhelming.
Mm.
So with Descendants of Hope, it's a platform that amplifies how diverse ancestry truly shapes the fabric, the colorful fabric of society by amplifying and highlighting the inspirational journey of immigrant Americans and their descendants, like myself, who are reaching heights their ancestors could never have imagined. And Lisa, the launch provided me that sense of community. 5 years later, it's still growing, which I'm so proud about. And above all else, it was an opportunity for me to pay homage to my parents,
Yeah.
who really are my greatest inspiration. They emigrated from Haiti to New York in the 1960s. And with that, my American reality became possible.
Yeah, well, I want to, so having that community, and obviously, whenever you have a community, it helps because it's that support system. But this specifically, when you're talking about you've had immigrant parents, have immigrant parents, and but you grew up American, in America, you were always here. So, what differs? What does this community offer you that say, we went to school together, say, and we were friends, but I don't have immigrant parents. What type of um, unique understanding, I guess, does it offer to you to have this kind of community?
Right. It's a really lovely question because I think it focuses on having a shared journey with someone, and with that creates a sense of belonging and connection, just like you're an alumna of your college or
Hmm.
university. So there's that alumni network. So you have that shared experience with others that graduated from that institution. Similarly, this is a community of folks with a shared journey where they are a son or daughter of an immigrant or an immigrant themselves. So it's not so much that it's a uniqueness around the community, whereas it creates an opportunity for people to say, I've been through that. That's very similar to what I've been through. And what's been so powerful with this project is that regardless of where a person is from, regardless of where their parent or grandparent was born, there's that commonality just in terms of
Yep.
work ethic and shared values. And it's truly inspiring.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. So I'm just, it's just, again, I think having organizations like that, as you said, where you have those shared experiences, whether they're very different in some ways, but there's all that, the factors there, the little nuggets of things that you can relate to one another with. So I think that's wonderful that you even thought to start it. Like it's just, I mean, COVID is horrible as it was for everyone to go through. There was a lot of positive things that came out of it. And I'm by no means saying that it was a good time, but I do feel like people became energized to either do better because of the situation or to just try something new. Again, thinking, life could be short, like whatever it may be, it motivated people to sort of get out of their comfort zone a little bit or try new things.
Absolutely. And there's a quote that I saw that says, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning how to dance in the rain.
I
So
like,
there was a massive storm looking at that time period, but it was how can we take something from it? And for me, creativity was that outlet. So I'm truly grateful that Descendants of Hope continues to grow and that it's a community that others also gain a lot from as well.
Yeah, no, this was my creative outlet. I started the Brand Insider BTS series.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
So
That's great to hear.
it was just, it's more about the Zoom. I had the idea,
Yes,
didn't know how to get it logistically, and then
right.
everyone's on Zoom, and I'm like, Zoom, I can start interviewing people. We don't need to be, in the same room. So
There
it
you have it.
was that, but I mean, that's a small little thing, but it's just, I think that it just gave me something where I felt like I was doing something because I wasn't going to the events anymore. Everything was, so you needed just something to feel productive, or good.
Right.
So, but okay, so another one of your the core leaderships is you wrote, act with clarity and curiosity. So now I want to turn to some fun. Have you been, or what most recently have you been curious about trying? Not at work, but for fun.
Well, I'm a foodie.
Okay.
So, not the best cook, but I love to eat. So, so lately, I've been having so much fun experimenting with gourmet cooking in the kitchen, trying new recipes. On some days, my husband will say it's a hit, and on some other days, he'll give me an A for effort. But regardless of the outcome and what comes out of the kitchen, it's really an opportunity to learn new things and get creative and really enjoy the process and something new.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And the last core value, put people first. Okay, so I want to ask you, and you did actually speak about a man who helped you and sort of guided you. Is there someone else that maybe even early on, like, that might have really saw something in you or really wanted to kind of see you and help you and advance you to who you were to become?
Yeah, so I go back to that summer job program
Mhm.
where I worked in an office of communications, and the office manager saw something in me. And I completed the first summer and was invited every summer after that initial experience because of this incredible woman. And I'm getting goosebumps and almost tearing up thinking about her because
Oh.
she saw something in that young woman, teenager,
Curly hair.
and she saw me, the curly haired shy girl, and she saw me come alive with the projects and the work. And if I were to see her tomorrow, I would thank her as I would do whenever I would see her every summer. So I'm really grateful to that person who saw something in me. And again, I go back to that exposure, that access, opening a door for people that may not necessarily have that opportunity. And it's really worked well for me, and I'm truly, truly grateful.
Yeah. And also giving you that positive experience. I mean, that could have been the opposite. She might have been just not helpful. She might have been dismissive of you. I mean, there were so many ways that could have gone. Then maybe you wouldn't be doing what you're doing because you would have associated that with marketing and media and everything you're doing today.
Exactly.
No. So it's creating that positive experience.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I have to ask you, what do people get wrong about you when they first meet you?
That's an interesting question. I think when people first meet me, they assume that I'm all business. And the truth is, I love authentic connections with people. And as we've been discussing, community fuels me. So I think that's one area. However, love authentic connections, and I'm very passionate about community.
So do you feel like maybe they see you because you're serious about, whether you're all business for something, for whatever it may be, and maybe that's more at work as opposed to in your personal life. But then once they start to chat with you and then this comes out.
Exactly, exactly. So, well said. That's how I would describe it. So, not all business all the time, but certainly get the job done. And if you were to ask people to describe me, it would be, I think, that combination of grit and grace. So the
Hmm.
grit and which you need to sustain a career in this industry. However, it's also the grace to empathize and connect with people in a way that leaves them with a positive impression and helps you build relationships over time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's easy to, especially, I mean, especially as women, but I think in general, I mean, I think I tend to be a little bit more stay back and, this is what we need to do and maybe a little bit more reserved than as I get to know people and then start to let the guards down, I guess.
Absolutely. In fact, I was in a Zoom, a trade association I'm a part of, comprised of women executives. And one of the topics of conversation was, what is the mask that you typically wear?
Mhm.
And how, as women, can we be more intentional about removing that mask? And a lot of the conversation was just what you just shared, Lisa. We feel based on experience that we have to show up in a certain way.
Mhm.
And it doesn't always allow us to be our true selves and requires us to pivot depending on the circle or the room that we're in. So I think as women, that's definitely a theme that you'll hear when you talk to more and more women.
Yeah. No, and I also think it's hard for me. I mean, if you talk to, I'm still good friends with my high school friends, my college friends, and I was always kind of the silly one, you know what I mean? A little bit of an airhead, space, whatever. And that there's still that in me. But it's hard, I think, not even just for professionally, but being silly and allowing that kind of part of you to out it takes a comfort zone.
It
I
does.
feel like it's harder for me. I can be fun, I can be this, I can be that, but to actually be silly and vulnerable, I guess that's what it is.
Yes.
Takes a little
Vulnerability.
more. Yeah,
Exactly.
no,
So important.
I agree. Okay, so I also read on your LinkedIn that you wrote, I want to say this correctly, change, and this you were actually quoting someone else, I believe. But okay, so change is not easy nor good. It sucks. But irrelevance is even worse. So basically, you were talking about real transformation happens when people embrace, the ch change and adapt for the future. So I want to ask you, what is a recent change or a change that you have made that you adapted to it and it helped to really strengthen your leadership?
Right. Well, first, I want to credit that quote to a brilliant strategist and marketing innovator, Rashad Tabakawala. His insights on rethinking the future of work are always thought-provoking. For me, the most impactful change that's fairly recent is embracing progress over perfection. I think firstborn in my family, being a woman, um, being a daughter of immigrants, you're taught growing up to be perfect, to stay the course, follow the rules, and just follow the plan that's been mapped out for you. And embracing that it's more important to make progress versus waiting for a perfect scenario. Being comfortable with imperfection has fundamentally changed how I lead. And I think for women, embracing progress over perfection can be incredibly rewarding.
Mhm.
It gives you, I think, more freedom to take more risks, to make bolder decisions, and to lead with more empathy and vulnerability, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Let people see that you're not perfect, and that's really, I think, a big part of it. Everyone, you want people to think that your world is perfect. You can do things perfectly right from the get-go. I mean, all of the above. And the fact is, it stifles us for anyone who's feeling that way. I know that I have not done things because I didn't feel like I could do it perfectly. Or maybe it slows us down because, okay, wait, no, tweak it a little bit more, do a little bit more to make it perfect. So to your point, it's something that, like, how did you get rid of that? How do you feel like, because that's something that I think many women, many people, but women especially, sort of are struggling with. What did you do to sort of get past that? Or are you still working at that?
I'm still working on it, both professionally and personally. And it's every day making decisions that will embrace that approach where it's about progress. It's okay if something is imperfect. I mentioned launching Descendants of Hope during the pandemic. It wasn't perfect. And I got to a point where I was sitting in isolation and tired of all the Zoom. And I thought, well, let me just launch, let me just go for it. And I
Mhm.
can improve as I go along. And that was, I think, the start of it. But it's something I embrace every day. I always want to make my family proud. I want to be there for my friends and the people that I know. And you want to show up and show out in a way
Yeah.
where
Yep.
people admire and respect your decisions. However, again, to your earlier point, I think vulnerability is so much more important. I think now more than ever,
Mhm.
especially as a leader.
Yeah. Well, if you don't show your vulnerability, why would your team want to show theirs? You know?
Right.
And I'm not saying you cry and, oh no, like, you want to be a good boss, someone who they can go to for support. But at the same point, you want to make them feel comfortable to show different sides of themselves as well. Okay, so
Exactly.
I have one more question for you. Just a little fun. Anything about you. It could be inconsequential, could be huge, but that people may not know about you. It's something you might do or something, whatever it may be, that people might be not necessarily surprised to hear, but just don't know.
Got it. Well, I'm a native New Yorker from Astoria, Queens. And I wear that with pride because it's really shaped how I navigate the world. And growing up in such a diverse, fast-paced city has really, I think, shaped my perspective of accepting and seeking out different backgrounds and perspectives. And I think that New York City swagger also has instilled in me that grit that I talked about earlier of
Yeah.
continuing to move forward and just keeping it moving, preferably with a good slice of pizza. That's the New Yorker in me.
Of
But
course.
I think my New York City roots have really helped to shape who I am in terms of my leadership style and on a personal level as well.
Yeah. It's when you say that, it's funny because when I first moved to New York, I had a different back and forth. But when I first moved, I was like 21, just out of school, and my father drove me and my brother helped to bring my stuff, and we went for pizza. And my brother and I, we must have looked like the biggest rubes. We're like, this is the biggest pizza we've ever seen, we're coming from Boston. It was so, I mean, we were like, my father's like, okay, just like amazed by it. It's just, and there is no other New York pizza. I'm not saying it's the best, and there's others that are good, but it's just when I
Right.
see it for the first time, it's like, wow.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, Daphne, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Good. I am glad. And thanks for watching. As I always say, if you know another extraordinary marketing woman that you'd like me to pull the curtain back, please let me know and I will do my best to get her. Anyway, thanks again. Thanks, Daphne.
You.